Everyone, brace yourselves for a unique evening of startling revelations.
Ooh, what's
It's
up?
James K.
How's it
Ultra from
going?
Pain in the Yaz.
What's going on,
Who
man?
knew?
Who
The
knew?
reclusive, this even
Extremely.
secretive,
A little bit
somewhat hobbitish.
accurate. Very, very Mordor.
Thank you so much for doing this little show, the little program.
My pleasure, man.
Again, I know it's not what comes to you naturally.
I'm warming up to it. I'm getting better. This has been something I've talked to with a couple of friends, yourself included. Just sort of like, all right, stop, just
Spread your
just
wings
do
and
it. Just
fly.
have fun. Have fun, collaborate, network. Don't make it awkward. So I'm it's a new era. It's a new year. I'm trying to spread my wings.
And it's a great way to reach consumers.
Nice tie-in.
The brand new single from Pain in the Ass, Consumer. Where did this come from? It almost seems a little bit on the edge of being political, which is unusual for Pain in the
I
Ass.
I particularly don't want that to be the case, but only it's socio-political commentary in a way, but it's meant
Yeah.
to be like playful, kind of satirical. Um and yeah, I can't really state that enough. I definitely want it to be perceived as playful, but the music always comes first for me, and that was the case here. And I just really went to town with most of the instrumental aspects, and it did have kind of a mechanical feel to me, which I think
Mm,
might have derived the word consumer. And some of the synths kind of remind me of Blade Runner in their
mm,
essence.
mm,
So I had this kind of like futuristic, kind of Orwellian thing rolling around in my head when I wrote the instrumental part, and maybe even a little bit of craft work. So there's kind of this futurism kind of thing going on, and the lyrics came to me like in a split second. Like I wrote them in 5 minutes, 10 minutes maybe, and I think I recorded them the next day. It was very stream of consciousness. So I wasn't trying to put it this way. I'm not trying to tell anybody how to think with these lyrics, but I have sort of a love hate relationship with, I guess, technology and where the internet has gone in the
mm,
last 5 or so years. It feels like we're going through maybe some growing pains, and
mm,
so that's really what it's about. It's about kind of me expressing that we're so connected every single day, whether we like it or not. And if you try not to participate, the result is basically loneliness. So, and not like this is just how people connect now.
yeah.
So, and it's also technology is a huge part of how I make music, obviously, like every single day. So I love it, but some days it feels vaguely Orwellian. It feels like I'm being beat over the head with a rainbow in terms of my interests that are like shown to me algorithmically. And that's it. I don't really hear this sentiment expressed a
Mm,
whole lot.
yeah.
And it just sort of it came out like the lyrics read a bit like rambling, but I meant it because I do
Yeah.
feel, again, I feel like the main point of the lyrics is that we're still kind of going through some growing pains,
Mm,
figuring out like the internet and technology, and things have just moved really fast in the last 10 years. And psychologically, it scrambles us a bit. And I think marketing is pretty aggressive these days. I think
mm,
because you watch a video of, you search two things on a social media app, and now the social media app is you're going to get those things. A lot of them. That's your
Oh,
algorithm now.
geez,
You
I know.
created
That's
it.
so creepy. Yeah.
It is a bit creepy. And like, yeah, some days I wake up and I go on the internet and I'm like, oh, look, there's all this fun stuff to look at, endless information. And then some days it feels vaguely like a digital hellscape. And
Mm,
that's what I was trying to say. But
yeah.
again, playful, playful. And I
Well,
do remain, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say that because you mentioned Orwellian, but I think it's got another additional quality to it that you add in there because whereas like Orwellian is like I don't know, there's more of this like life or death face stomping stuff.
Sure.
You showed this little the little subtleties and nuances of like of like hey, you're a loser. You need to buy this stuff, and that's like really the most horrible trick. It's one thing to just show something and say, hey, look at this, it's cool. It's another thing like you to actually you feel like a loser if you don't look like this person or you can't do this or you
Fear of
can't
missing
afford
out.
that.
Fear of missing out.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
that's the internet is a machine for making those types of feelings. Like you don't want to be left out.
Mm,
And it just moves so fast now. And I'm getting a little older. And I'm like, I also meet adults now that are because I'm old enough to where I have like one foot in like the internet wasn't what it is now
mm.
when I was coming up. MySpace, Friendster, if anybody remembers Friendster. But I mean adults that have they've known this internet pretty much their whole life. And
Yeah.
it's just a different type of human being
Yep.
that has always known that level of connectivity. And I think there's a lot of people that maybe don't have so much existential anxiety about it as I do, but like some days it's just heavy for me. And I think that's the point that I was trying to drive home. It's nice to hear that the chorus is landing like how I intended and that it's, sort of third person, something like that. Like I'm sure as hell
Yeah.
not calling the listener a loser. I'm but I think I think you nailed it with
Yeah, no,
that.
I mean, I took it as the whatever the advertising Big Brother kind of.
Absolutely. Or you know what, the other thing, I think a lot of the lyrics in the song, and I know you'll feel me on this one, is the current monopoly on the way that music marketing works
Mhm.
and just gatekeepers, tastemakers, curators, uh that is a whole monopoly in the way that that works. And it's an industry. Like it's just sort of this mid-tier.
Yeah.
And I
And who
we've
are these
gotten pretty
people?
good. Well, I
Who
mean,
are these people?
I
I just
even
want to
run a
be a fly.
playlist.
I just want to be a fly on the wall and be like, who? But I mean, like Spotify editors. You know what I mean? I would love to be a fly on the wall of like Spotify editors, and if they listen to, maybe it's AI that's listening to most. Maybe it's AI
I
that's
think
listening to most of submissions at this point. I don't know.
I can't even pretend to speculate on AI's role in Spotify, but I do know they have humans that curate certain editorial playlists. But even beyond what Spotify is doing, there's different aspects of promotion like Submit Hub, all sorts of things. And
Yeah.
and again, I remain I'm mostly positive on all of this stuff because you have to be so you don't absolutely lose your mind.
Hmm.
But I it's just a lot to navigate, man.
Mm.
And sometimes I'm like good spirited about it and I'm like, all right, I'm going to do all the things. And, we all have like release checklists and things of that nature.
Hmm.
And, but some days I'm just like, again, vaguely feeling like this is a digital hellscape. I just want, I just want the experience of making music to be like a form of communication. That's how I always thought about it. Like, I don't want to do it for no one. I mean, I am doing it for me, but it is to
It is
have
to reach people.
anyone
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, as people say, I do it for the fans. I do this because I have to. Like, it's just sort of in me
Mm,
and in my
hmm
DNA at this point. But we all want to reach an audience, I think. And yeah, there's just a lot of people that are making, I get advertisements all the time that are like, is your song like whatever? I can't even think of what phrasing they use where it's just like,
mm,
don't flop. You got a new song coming out? Work with us. And I'm like, that is, I'll have just searched one simple thing
mm,
on Instagram, like at plugins, like any kind of if I search anything engineering related or music mixing related, or I like one post with a plugin, oh, the next week
mm,
I'm getting absolutely like bombarded with those
mm,
advertisements. But I really, I definitely noticed in the last year the amount of advertisements for promotional services and things like that got,
mm.
there's way more of that now. And I'm just like, yeah, kind of like you said, who are these people?
Yeah.
And there's always the fear of like, we don't do any of those services because they're against terms of service and stuff like that. But it's just, it's aggressive sometimes.
Yeah. Are you game for reading the lyrics
Sure.
to this one? Because I
Sure.
think is that's really good.
Okay. Let's see if I can read my own chicken scratch here. Some days I hate, I wait, recall when things were simple. I need, you need me. I should try to just avoid it. I can't relate, but maybe I am just out of touch. Try everything that you can to make an impression. Now let us hear what you've got, but make it quick. Because we know how to reach the new consumer, and you know how it feels to be a loser. If you
Mm,
are not paying for it, then you are the product. And I'll take every cord in this house and cut it twice to make the point that I can live without it. And then you have the consumer chorus again. It sounds so stern written down and yet so playful when sung.
yeah, well, that's well, you always talk to me about contrasts.
There's a contrast here.
Yeah. It's this is one I've learned so many things from you, by the way, because I even though I probably knew like subconsciously, oh yeah, contrasts are important, but you've always mentioned that. And yeah, I mean, if it
Peaks
was
people.
like
Yeah.
if you were like shouting these lyrics over like also Nine Inch Nails guitars and stuff, it would just be too much, you know. But the fact that you're like crooning it over catchy groove is like another thing.
Well, that's what intrigued me about it because again, like it reads vaguely like a manifesto, but it's meant to be more bratty and playful. Like that's how I was thinking. I was just like,
Mm,
it's almost like Madonna's Vogue, but I'm talking about like excess consumerism. And again, it's
yeah,
not, there is no moral grandstanding intended here, but I think it's pretty universal that most people sometimes on the internet are just like overwhelmed. Like there's no, I think that's a pretty universal thing.
yeah.
But yeah,
Well, I didn't feel like it
I
was moral grandstanding because I feel like you're including yourself in the situation as well. You know what I mean?
it's how I feel. Again, I feel like it's hot or cold with the internet. Like I'm either like, look at all these cats, and I'm having like the best time of my life. I'm watching cats do human things because that's my whole feed is Hyraxes and cats. And then
Whenever
I'm
I
like,
have something
man,
with cats go on my feed, I see liked
do it,
by James K.
doing
Ultra.
posts. Yep, yes, I I enjoy silly animals on the, I feel like the internet's backbone is animals doing silly things. And every time like an animal gets popular, like the Hyrax or what else was it? There's just different, like a bird will just become popular, like a kiwi. Kiwis got
Oh
hot
yeah,
for a
yeah,
minute. It's the saving grace of the internet, and besides my friends that I like to see what they're up to, it's what keeps me on social media for sure. Yeah, and then sometimes I get on and I'm like, oh man, this is a heavy place. I'm gonna go like, I don't know, hug a cat, get off the internet. And that I also started spending around the time I wrote this, I started spending way more time outside.
Mm,
And because I mean I'm in front of this screen a solid 8 hours a day mixing,
mm,
but I was just like, you gotta balance this out
yeah,
or else it's gonna melt your brain
yeah.
rot.
I'm the same thing now that I'm mostly working on my phone. And then it's like, it's not fun to scroll anymore, you know? It's like, it all
It,
feels like a
I
form of work or something.
You know what the worst thing is? When, and I think this is also universal, when you're like, that's enough Instagram, close. Let's see what's going on with Instagram. Open. I'm like, what? I'll
I
catch
go from
myself doing
Instagram to
it.
TikTok, Instagram to
Oh
TikTok.
man. And
And then once in a while, I see how things are going on Blue Sky.
I'm, I don't, I'm just Instagram. I don't have any hate for any of the other apps. I just sort of, that's what my brain can handle.
Yeah.
I think if I have another app, I'm just never going to get anything done. I don't know. I've got a, I'm literally too busy to doom scroll most
Yeah.
days.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah. You're lucky. Um,
Mm.
so what, because I know a little bit how we work together. What happens when, like, when you're working doing mixes for people and mastering songs and mixing and producing and all that, and then like, are you always thinking like, do you have a bunch of songs in a bag you pull out, or you're like, let me just take part of today and try to work on something and see what happens? Or
For my own
I never
material,
really, yeah, yeah, I never really talked to you about how you fit in your material into your whole thing, because that's another thing. You're also doing this all the time, and then you want to work on your own material as well.
what is that saying? The shoemaker's son is always shoeless or
Yeah,
something like that.
exactly. Yeah.
I, um, I, I have different, I've really learned to separate my different modes. And I even do
Mm,
this with clients now more. Because if you noticed recently, I'm like, all right, we're done mixing. I almost need to like delete some RAM from my brain for maybe like 4 or 5 days
mm,
a week. And then I go into mastering. And then I'm like, I almost just put on a different hat. I'm like, I'm a different guy now. Let's see what this dumb mixing engineer did. So I can just be a tiny bit more objective about it. And it's been working similarly for working on my own material. Because I have hundreds and hundreds of instrumentals.
oh, really? I didn't
Oh,
know that.
so many.
Wow. Okay.
Most of which aren't great. I used to really like I used to really like try to finish most of my stuff and put it out. And now I'm like, the instrumental has really got to compel me to do a good to be just overcome with the need to put vocals on it.
Mm,
Um, and in my opinion, it should not be. It's not going to be effortless or anything, but it should be. I like what I'm doing so much that let me make sure I'm doing it right.
mm.
I'll often do that scratch performance first and then be like, can you do it better before I even really. So when I'm just in instrumental writing mode and I'm just kind of building sounds, that's just a whole headspace. And then recording vocals and writing lyrics is a separate headspace to me. And very rarely does everything come together. Actually, I think the instrumental, a very simple version of it, is probably a year and a half old.
Okay.
And
And
then
so
I go ahead.
when let's say I want to work on a new song, do you know already that it's the consumer music you want to work on, or do you go and sample a few of the instrumentals and see if something reignites a
You,
fire in you?
Usually I'm like, it's probably about time to like, I don't know, reestablish myself as an artist who releases music. I mean, I hate to even say that out loud that working on a schedule, but I mean, I like to have something new out. I like to feel like
Yeah.
I have something cool and new to share.
Mm,
And so usually it comes from me trying to write something, it being fantastically mediocre. And then I go through my instrumentals. I'm like, what have I written that isn't mediocre? And then I'll be like, what the hell? I haven't listened to this in a year and a half. And I'll hear it and be like, this has potential. And I'll spruce up the mix a little bit, you know.
So then you throw
I'll
it right
put,
in. You throw it right in and set up a session with the.
yeah, I'm really, I usually, I'm so picky about my recording quality now
Mm,
because I feel like my ears are getting sharper. It's
hmm.
kind of obnoxious. I hear every little artifact
Yeah.
and it drives me absolutely insane. But yeah, so I'll usually put just like the wave file in a session, crank it up to 96K and record my vocals and then just go for like these days I'll just record the song like 4 or 5 times, comp
Mm,
together my best takes, but often it usually is like one or two that I'm like, these are the best ones. So a phrase here, that's common practice, but sometimes you just are in the zone. Well, look who I'm talking to. You see, recording vocals for you, it we're just different. That we're alike. We're alike in so many ways,
yeah.
but that is where we differ. Uh, I I I enjoy my singing voice. I think I'm serviceable, sometimes even charming sounding, but it is like a bloodletting getting me to record vocals.
Mm,
I gotta be I have to have a certain kind of like swagger in my head or
yeah.
something
Yeah.
where I gotta be feeling myself.
No, no,
Basically.
I know what you mean because I told you lately I lost my swagger. I'm like because of my living situation.
Sure.
I'm currently living in a shelter. Everyone, it's a shelter in Denmark, which is like kind of like a luxury hotel in other countries, but it's still a shelter. So yeah, circumstances have put me here, and I just like it just started working on me and I lost that swagger. So I know what you're talking about because I have that all the time. And and then I lost it and I was like, and I was like doing collabs with like three different people and I was like, um, I can't right now. I
I
just didn't
I
have it.
also and you know what the other thing is, I'm a producer. I produce for other artists. I know better than to not take care to create an ambiance that's good for a performance. And by that I mean do whatever you have to do. Like
Mm,
light candles. I have a
mm,
lava lamp. Lava lamp makes me feel cool. It makes me feel kind of vibey. Burn incense, do whatever you got to do. Like I've been trying to be more like kind of sacred about it
mm,
because that is just what casual makes me not push hard enough. And I have
mm.
a softer croon to my voice anyways, so it can't be any more close to talking or else it isn't really singing, is it? so so I've been when I'm like, all right, Thursday's a vocal day. We're doing vocals. It might be good, it might be bad. We're doing vocals. And I'll do everything I possibly can from like, hot tea and beverages to the lighting, whatever you got to do. And that's producing.
Mm.
And sometimes I forget to produce for myself because it's just an
Uh,
afterthought.
mm,
I need to just get the vocals down so I can start mixing the song. And that doesn't make for the best stuff. So when I recorded these vocals, and again, it's so funny. I really didn't even think about the lyrics too much until I was like pretty much mastering it. And I'm like, what are you going on about to myself? But I knew I meant it. I knew I
yeah.
meant it. And I thought about that John Lennon quote. Say what you mean, make it rhyme, and put a backbeat to it.
Hmm.
And he said that to Bowie, and I was
Yeah.
just like, that's phenomenal advice. And yeah, I was like, again, I was like, this. I hope people understand what I'm doing here, and even if they don't, if they, yeah, I'm quite proud that I said something I meant, even if it was a hard to explain sentiment. It's a, it's a, yeah, I meant what I said. I feel
Yeah.
like the internet is heavy sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, I think it came through beautifully. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Um, do you remember when what you were thinking about when you wrote the music and what? I'm guessing the bass line came first because it's so kind of driving, but
Huge.
maybe I'm wrong. Yeah.
Um, I think those drums got laid down first because I just love something about a really solid kick
Mm,
sample that just has that manages to be huge but have just that little bit of top end
mm,
that makes it like push through, kind of like Petrified. They're totally different drum samples than Petrified, but like I I think I think I've established quite a style in terms of percussion with Pain in the Ass. So it was definitely the drums, and I was like, okay, okay, all right. And that
so you had the drums laying down there before
before
any
anything else.
really? Oh, interesting. Okay. I
The
don't know if
hi-hat
I've
didn't
ever done
come
that. Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
You're always sounds first.
Yeah.
It's probably 50-50 for me.
Yeah, I'm usually the bass line first, actually.
That's good to know. I think I did know that. I believe there was a thin bass that I did after that because there's layers of bass in that song. Um, I would have if I thought I could put even more low end in that song and it still feel balanced to me, I would have. Towards the end of mixing, I was just like more. But I wanted it to translate to different speakers, and I think it's adequate low end. Um, but yeah, I think it was the middle, the kind of mid-rangey bass that I added next, and then that sort of very automated Blade Runner synth that I'm calling it. There's actually it sounds like a simple song. It sounds like there's just like three or four sounds, but there's at least 12, and that's not accounting, effects and things like that. So it's quite dense for how I think simple it sounds.
Do you know Blade Runner is my favorite movie?
I did not know that.
That's my favorite, and it's the movie I've seen the most. I've seen it like an obscene amount of times.
It's interesting. My favorite's Alien, Ridley Scott. Ridley Scott.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's right.
Um,
Two Ridley Scotts. Yeah.
the soundtrack's amazing. It's funny. That version of Blade Runner with the I like the version without the narrative,
Oh yeah,
without Harrison Ford. Oh my God, well, that was a terrible decision. It's
yeah. Well, he was against that too.
he
Harrison
was.
Ford. Yeah,
It talks down to me. It just assumes I'm the stupidest person alive and tells
yeah,
me like I'm like, I don't show me, don't tell me. Yeah, Ridley Scott, I don't think he was I think that was a studio meddling thing.
yeah. I
But
think it
yeah,
was. Yeah,
this
yeah.
I is that Hans Zimmer that did the the soundtrack?
No,
I
that's
can't,
um, it's oh my God.
yeah, I feel bad because
No, no,
I was
no, no. It's oh my God. All right, I'm gonna
let's just
Google.
pretend we're
Yeah.
yeah, do it. Do
Do,
it.
do,
And
do, do, do.
I
Oh,
feel
Vangelis. I didn't Google. I did a mind Google.
excellent. Excellent. Yeah, the sound design is incredible.
Yeah.
I feel bad because I should know that. But I listened to a lot of that's another thing that was a big influence on the song was just soundtrack music
Mm,
because that song works pretty great without me singing on it, to be honest with you. So
mm.
but I love like if you remember the Heat soundtrack, that's always been a big influence on me. I can't remember that composer's name either. I feel bad. But yeah, I don't know. I love somewhat dated sounding futuristic music, if that makes
Yeah, yeah,
sense.
yeah, yeah. Me too. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I actually saw. I just read something I never heard before that in Dennis Villeneuve or whatever his name is that did the Blade Runner 20 is it 2049?
2049.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that he wanted David Bowie to play the like head of the corporation, not Jared Leto. He had David Bowie in mind for playing that.
And guess how I feel about that?
Would have been great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, would have been great.
Bowie's a good actor. He was a very good
Yeah.
actor.
Now, you mentioned Petrified in passing, and I actually just looked at it because when I said I'm going to bring up Petrified and just make him really reflect on what it's like to have a song have 174,000 streams. And now I just look and it's 178,000. Okay. That's just when we started talking about doing this like last week or something. And now, I mean, dude,
It's absurd.
can you like take it in and really like, I am an independent artist that wrote this song, made it in my basement, put it out there, and now it's been streamed almost 180,000 times. It's insane.
I've it's been the whole story with my relationship to that song has definitely had peaks and valleys, but
Mm.
I'm just grateful. That's really like when everything else is going wrong, and sometimes quite literally everything else is going wrong. That one song still gets hundreds of streams a day. And I'm like, if I did it once, I sure as hell can do it again. And maybe I won't. And that's fine too. It's still, you know, leaps and bounds. I remember when 10,000 streams, I was just like, call Guinness, baby. We're famous.
I
So it,
yeah,
I
I've only
really,
reached 4,000. I've hit the 4,000. So
it's also easy for me to say like, oh, I try not to be a numbers guy. Yeah, right.
yeah.
Whatever. I want the numbers. But I'm just grateful. I'm just really grateful. Also, something that eventually somebody's going to bring up. Both of those songs have la-las.
Oh yeah, it's the return of the la la la.
Okay, so here's the story with that, because I feel like this bears uh talking about. I When I was trying to figure out the vocal melody for Consumer, I did I recorded la-las throughout the whole song, just trying to like it was just a crappy scratch track, just trying to figure out what it was. I don't always do that. I do recommend that if you really can't figure out, like, it's almost like playing piano to figure out your vocal notes.
Mm.
And I had lyrics written for the pre-chorus where the la-las are, and I recorded it. It sounded good. And I listened to it for about a week, and I was like, I missed the la-las in the pre-chorus. And I was like, you can't do that. It can't do la-las in the pre-chorus again. You're gonna be a la-la guy. Like, and then I let a full week go by, and I did a version where I brought the la-las back, and I was like, it's staying, dude. It's staying. It's kind of ridiculous, but it's staying. I'm doing it. And I'm glad I did. I know it's, in a way, you could consider it kind of a cheeky callback to
Yeah.
Petrified, but I was like, I might as well just get out in front of this and say, hey, look, I know hey man, I'll be a one trick pony. But I thought, I think it's, I find it to be kind of clever. I feel clever.
Well, how many times has Robert Smith gone do 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 do?
That's a really good point. And I will think of that when I like, again, I took the week to be like, this is kind of all right. And then I was like, no, no, no. It sounds good.
Yeah.
It sounds good. I mean, it's a completely different melody. The vocals sound very different. I wonder if some people wouldn't even have thought of it that are familiar with those songs, but it's la core. This is my genre now. I'm just gonna keep doing it. Just gonna lean into it.
You didn't even mention that this latest song idea I sent you that I had la la la's in it.
See what I mean? Like it's it's musical. Like I think humming is cool. I think whistling in song is cool. Do I think whistling is cool in songs?
You got to be a good whistler.
Sounds like Guns N' Roses, the only thing I could think of.
Yeah, they ruined it.
I was about to do an Axel impression. Best I don't. But yeah, I don't know. All those things are like potentially underutilized musical things to do. Dude, I don't want to say too much, but I like the idea of making just noises, like even
Mm,
whatever. Like you can do so much when mixing to make a simple like chest hit sound like doosh, like huge. That's just sound design, man. So it all is
yeah.
fun for me, and I don't feel like there's any rules in regards to that.
And you got hand claps in there too.
I do. Those are real hand claps. Uh,
Really?
there's yeah, well, there's my hand claps mixed with a sample of hand claps
Okay.
just to sort of like dense it out a little bit. I did that early on in the production. That's like my favorite part, honestly, because I the vocals pause just for a brief second and then it claps and I go back. I have to say, normally by the time a song is about to come out, I'm like, ugh, I'm like done with it. But this is a special one for me. I feel very proud of it. I feel like it showcases where I'm going musically. Again, even though it has somewhat serious subject matter, it's playful in a way that I've been trying to nail the mood.
Mm,
It's almost like the namesake of the band. I've been trying to find,
mm,
because there's no lack of sincerity in what
yeah.
I do, but
It's just a
I
wink.
always a wink,
Yeah.
always a wink. And I'm telling you, there's bands that have done that throughout time. Like I feel like the Cramps were some of the
Mm,
best. It was a little silly,
yeah.
like earlier Nick Cave stuff was pretty like
Mm,
wild. I don't know. You get the list goes on,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
I always enjoyed that in music. I don't I don't see a lot of it in like dark wave and goth music. That's for sure. Like it's
Mm,
very, very serious. And I was like, I gotta have a
yeah,
sense of
that's
humor
true.
about myself. I gotta stay
I
grounded
feel
here.
like there's a, although I don't really know, but I feel like there's a wink with the, oh my God, I just lost the name, with the guys with the white wigs and the white powder
Drab
paint.
Majesty,
Yeah,
100%. Also, while we're on that subject, I
because it's
was
like
listening
serious songs, but just the way they look, it's like a wink,
when I
wink.
when I first saw them, I was just like, "What's up with the Andy Warhol wigs?" And then like I don't know, it took me like a couple listens and like two music videos, and I was like, "I get it. I like it. This is great." And but I was listening to quite a bit of Drab Majesty when I was mixing Consumer,
Okay.
as well as like Health. Health was a big influence. Cold Cave always. Chelsea Wolf. I did actually listen to a bit of the stuff you and I have done together as well. Just kind of, I do a lot of A and B comparison, just being like,
Mhm.
do I need more of this? But I definitely had like a sonic palette in mind when I was mixing it, and that was the part that gave me the most joy. Was like, I want this low end, like when you listen to it in earbuds, I want the low end to just envelop the listener, and
Mm.
that's like my favorite thing about it.
Well, another thing that you always do, and you always bring it up to me too, that if it's something needed in a mix that we're doing, is, and I think it's so great to think about, is this, is that I just feel like the shoulders have got to go with something,
And
just
that's
some little
kind
like
of
counter rhythm or
that's the
some
hi
kind
hat.
of groovy.
That's
Yeah,
the hi hat for this.
yeah.
I never pan hi hats like this, but I was just like, you're going to be panned with 25 left. Why? No reason. I honestly just did that one day to get it out of the way while I was working on vocals, and then I couldn't pan it anywhere else because that was like just printed in my brain. I, I
Yeah.
I generally like a lot of symmetry in my productions,
Mm.
but this song, like the Blade Runner sounds, kind of jump around. Like I've automated them so much that I'm like, what is even symmetry in this song?
Yeah.
And yeah, I spent a long time on how that hi hat goes in to the snare because I wanted it to kind of sound like an open hi hat into a close into the snare hit, and I really can't. I'm not a drummer, but I knew the kind of vaguely jazzy feel that I wanted it to have
Mm.
to get the shoulders moving. Yeah, I don't. I'm rhythm, baby.
Maybe you're not a drummer, but I would call you like a groove meister.
Yeah, I like
You
groove.
like,
I
yeah.
definitely do. And it also, if you make the type of music that you and I make, there's only so many 4/4 boots and cats beats that you can handle before you're like, all right, we gotta shake things up somehow. And this one's
Bring in the
pretty.
Blue Monday again.
That's you with the kick drum. I'm always just like,
I can't help it.
who was I talking? No, like, I was talking to somebody because I was just like, sometimes Scott will just be like, "Hey, no snare," and I'm like, "No snare," like, and then I'll be like, "Holy shit, no snare." I did. It's like it didn't even occur to me. But no, I think that is the new order thing to do, and it totally works. I mean, percussion is percussion. Honestly, the snare in Consumer sounds kind of like a tom because I
Mm,
wanted it to be a little bit rounder. I didn't
mm,
want to. Just wanted to. I wanted a sound that was like the kick, but a little different. And I like that. I know a lot of artists use like the same drums, like electronic based artists. They'll use the same drums for most of their material. For me, every song is new, and I
oh,
have
interesting. Yeah.
hundreds, if not thousands, of drum samples.
Mm,
And I'm just like, I want something new, you know. I feel like I could just use some of the same sounds, and that would be fine. I wouldn't feel any kind of way about it. But I'm like, I want something new. Like that's again the mixing part for me, producing and mixing, and when I feel like, hang on, I think I got something here. That's my favorite part of making music,
mm.
more than the numbers, more than people listening to it, more than releasing it. It's yeah, something new.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That magical moment when it's like, this is something. This is
It's
something cool.
so hard to explain, but it does
Yeah.
happen all at once. Like all of your, you know, neurons start firing and you're like, this will turn into something. Those days when you really are on fire and everything's coming together and you look up at the clock and it's been like 5 hours and you didn't even know it, like those are the absolute best. I just like recording vocals. I only get like 2 of those days a month where I'm like on autopilot with the creative process.
Mm,
But I still do really cool creative things on a daily basis. But those days when you're just making something out of nothing, I don't have an infinite amount of those days in me.
mm.
They just come when they come, and I have no idea what coaxes them out of me. I have no clue.
Well, actually, I was going to start this whole thing today by saying that you really are on fire lately. I mean,
Thank
with your
you.
own stuff, with my stuff, with everyone's stuff. I mean, this with the I feel like it kind of started with the April Afternoon remix,
That
and
was a lovely
then
experience.
yeah, and now I've heard, by the way, a sample of the next Chronic
Oh,
Dreams.
good.
Yeah, so that
I'm very pleased with that too.
yeah, yeah.
I do think something happened about 3 or 4 months ago. And when you're a mixing engineer or any kind of engineer or any kind of producer, these things happen that are hard to explain. They're like aha moments where you just all of a
Mm,
sudden your your scope of things gets a little bit more clear, and I'll hear something and I'll immediately know what it needs from like on a tonal level,
mm,
like how much low end or how much like clarity, like things like that, how much width, just the shape and skew of things. I'll hear something and I'll immediately know what I think it should be and what would make sense. Like I want music to make sense to more people. Like obviously I love sound design and everything, but like there are general EQ shapes of songs
mm,
that are inclined to do well with the
mm.
general public. And that's something I have studied a lot, like how much low end,
Something
things like
things
that.
they can take in, or yeah, what a human can take in.
Or just what is most pleasing to the ear.
Pleases the
And
ear too.
I
Yeah, yeah.
about 3 or 4 months ago, maybe even a little bit longer ago, yeah, maybe 6 months ago, I felt like all of a sudden I was like I saw a new color or
Mm.
something.
Well, you quit
And
smoking too. We should tell
oh,
everyone.
I quit nicotine. I've it's not a lot of things that I would want to like publicly proclaim because you never know where the world is going to take you or what you might need. And I'm mostly very positive on nicotine because it was there for me when I needed it. That's for sure.
Mm.
But I kept noticing that it was dehydrating me to the point where like it was perhaps affecting my hearing to an extent.
Mm.
My ears are very, very sensitive.
Mm.
And you know, I have the slightest bit of tinnitus, and I'm I baby my ears because I don't want any more of that, and
Mm.
I want to work like this for decades and decades. But
Mm.
yeah, I for numerous reasons I was like I gotta stop. And cold turkey the day before Thanksgiving, and I quit artificial sweetener as well. Again, like it didn't completely change my life. I don't know. I can't. And I was with nicotine. It was hard. It was hard just because, well, we talked about that. Like it's
Yeah,
nootropic properties. It feels,
that's horrible. Yeah.
again, I miss it, but I maybe would never do it again just because quitting was so hard. I never want
Mm.
to go through that again. That was like a week of just, I don't know. I don't know how to do things in reasonable amounts. So I had to just stop it. But me and caffeine are still going strong. So
Mm.
yeah. Yeah, it really was mostly the hearing thing. I felt like because if I'm dehydrated in particular, I would notice that my ears were just I don't know. I've done quite a few things to make sure that my hearing is consistent
Mm.
so that I can work consistently. Yeah.
Yeah, I never thought about hydration. That's interesting. Yeah. So
It's
that affects
huge.
everything. Yeah.
Well, here's your like hydration and blood pressure are very kind of interconnected
Hmm.
and blood pressure yeah, if your blood pressure goes up, you get like you'll put earbuds in and you get like just a little bit of like tinnitus kind of thing.
Mm.
I need to hear everything
Mm.
for the type of work I do. So that's what I noticed. And that's what made me even dude, and my voice was definitely shot towards the end of like last year
Mm.
from the nicotine because I was vaping.
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah, not exactly the coolest thing in the world. But yeah, my voice was always scratchy. And
Mm.
so then you already add to the fact that I barely have any days where I really feel like recording vocals. I can't have anything else in the way. Like I can't have a tore up voice,
Yeah. Yeah.
scratchy.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense. It's like sucking on a hair dryer or something. Of course, it's
Dude, yeah, but when I was mixing music and just like, I'm like losing my mind, just like I missed that. I missed the grind. But then like
yeah. Yeah.
6 hours later, you're like, you go to
Mm.
try to
So
go to
evil.
sleep and you're just like wired. It's not really, again, just consuming the amount of coffee I do is, let's just let that be the vice for the work thing. But I'll always miss it. I will,
Yeah.
most definitely. But
Yeah.
yeah, had to close the chapter on that one.
Yeah, but it's working. But something your game is definitely you're definitely just firing on all cylinders these last 6 months. Just
To, to be truly honest with you, I think it mostly has to do with me all of the sudden having a little bit of a better understanding of low end,
mm.
like what you can do with low end, because to the wrong ears, like humongous bass sounds like, or the wrong mix sounds like, oh, you're taking away from the clarity. But there's ways to nestle the clarity inside that powerful low end. And
Mm.
all of a sudden, I don't know. I just kind of figured
Just
out
clicked.
what I
Yeah.
really like. And
Yeah,
you can
yeah,
hear
yeah.
it in this song. I think you hear it in Petrified as well.
Mm.
because Petrified just has this wall of sub bass
Yeah.
through the whole song. And that's another thing with Consumer, the bass like kind of moves and breathes. That kept me really excited working on the song as well. I can't really think of a song where the bass is that huge, but it disappears for brief seconds. It's
Mm. Yeah, there's still space there. Yeah.
yeah, I don't really normally, it made me feel not nervous, but like I was just like, is this okay? And then the
Is
next
this
day I was like,
allowed?
there's no rules. If it works, it works. Who cares? I have like I'm especially carefree when it comes to that sort of thing on my own material. I take a little bit less risks with other people's material if it means like doing something totally out of the box. But sometimes I'll be like, hey, what do you think about this? And just see if something lands because you never know. But yeah, sometimes with my stuff, I'm like, I like it. I don't, and that's, the beginning and ending of it.
Yeah. Well, what's next for Pain in the Ass?
A
Do you
lot
have a
of
song? Do you have a
remixes,
song in do you have a song in waiting? A solo song? Another one or no?
yes. I
Yeah,
have
okay. You got one on
three
deck?
instrumentals that I really, really
Maybe
like.
like, oh
And
wow, that's like
they,
you're
they're all
rich.
so different.
Yeah.
I mean, I have way more than that, but I have three that I actually like. I think I'll wait to see how Consumer does. And
Okay.
because I feel like Consumer is very indicative of where I would like to go musically in terms of like sort of its scope and power and like shape. Because I feel like it sounds different than my other material. Maybe it doesn't. I always, but I mean, I was playing so much guitar last year,
Mm,
and I love that, but I really love the sort of iciness of staying completely electronic. So I guess I'll see how that does because I would presumably want something that pairs nicely with Consumer, or I'll just throw a complete curveball and be like, never mind, not for something completely different. But I have three that are runners up that yeah. So honestly, it might just be whichever one writes their own lyrics first,
mm.
and then they're sometimes I'm just the path of least resistance, man. Sometimes there isn't really like a grand scheme, and I'm just like this, and
Yeah.
it works out. Like that's a lot of by the seat of my pants is a big way that I work. Because why
Mm,
fight it? Like I don't want to. I've had songs where I've been just like beating my head against this idea for ages, and I'm like, this is not how it's really supposed to be. And if a song just needs to be shelved for a year and a half before you can really, you know, uh, complete it in a way that
yeah.
feels complete, then do it. Like I know there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people that need to finish their songs.
Mm.
That is for sure. But just keep working, you know. But I do have. I think this year is going to be a lot of collaborating. Um,
Oh yeah, you said
remixes.
that was kind of your mantra.
Yeah, not
Collaborate.
divulging what yet because I don't know who wants to
Yeah.
announce what when, but yeah, it's funny. I say
Well,
like,
we
oh,
can
I'm gonna do.
you can announce one if we since the two people are agreeing are right here.
Okay, well, you say it first, so we're talking about the same thing.
So we have a collaboration.
Oh, good. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, good. See it? See what I mean? Yes, we are working on a song. Absolutely, that one I'm perfectly comfortable with saying. I just, dude, I never. Sometimes I'll mention that I'm working on something to another friend, and they'll be like, "Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that they were doing that." And I'm like, I don't know if I was supposed to say
Oops.
that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really very much looking forward to that one. That one's very special to me too. And I'm kind of in the process with that one, and I want to it's gonna have to be one of those days where I
Those
just
magic vocal
wake up
days.
and I'm just full of like vinegar and I'll just and it'll probably be like two takes and I'll be like, where were you when I needed you last month or whatever? And that'll be great. but yeah, a lot of collaborating, a lot of remixes. I mean, both of our schedules are, we've got 6, 7, 8 months into the year booked out now,
Yeah.
which is crazy. I'm still blown away with how busy for me, like just with working with other clients, uh December and January were.
Mm.
That's notoriously a very slow month, period for me.
No, that's right.
And
Yeah.
no, it was not slow. I was extremely busy,
Yeah.
but that was awesome. So yeah, I'm at this point, I'm thinking more about when I'm going to pencil in some sort of a break than I am
Mm.
anything else because there's
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
much
Yeah.
going on. But it's been everyone I've been working with, if anyone that I am collaborating with watches this, it's been awesome.
Mm.
Everyone's been super cool and open and receptive. And like, I'm like, see, this is the kind of energy that I need to
Mm.
keep me on fire for my own stuff. It really
Yeah.
will do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not really super hard nosed about, I don't know, you know me. I'm like, fuck it, let's try it. Like
Yeah.
but I'm
No, but
also,
it does work like that. Yeah. Yeah,
yeah, but
because
also like,
that's what I was saying when I lost my swagger, and it was like it was actually Burnt Log Andy that helped me find it again because he got
oh,
a
that's
hold of me
awesome.
and said, "Hey, what are we, are we working on this? Are we doing that or whatever?" And then we started, and then I felt like such a jerk because I hadn't done vocals on this song for like 7 months,
See, but
and then I
it
was
will
like,
be
"I gotta
not
do it."
it will be not wanting to disappoint you that will get me off my ass and into the vocal booth for a
Yeah,
song.
exactly, exactly. That's what happened. And then I actually came up with that new part of the song that's your favorite part of the song.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I
Yeah.
don't know what you're doing. I don't even know how to explain it.
I think
But
it's kind
I
of
was
a
just
Cocteau Twins thing because he said he was going to put Cocteau Twins
Octo
guitar on there, which he didn't really, did he? Is
a
there any
bit.
guitar on there? Oh, there is.
Yeah.
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 Oh,
I
yeah, there
think
is. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Maybe
assuming
I
we're
think that
cleared to
got him.
talk about
I,
this.
yeah. Yeah. I don't think
Okay,
he.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a
But no,
burnt log, SPG burnt log coming out too.
yeah, I found the guitars to nail what he was going for with Cocteau Twins. And that song is awesome. I really, really enjoy that song.
Yeah.
It's what's so interesting. Everything I've been a part of in the last like 6 months, I genuinely like. I don't
Yeah.
know if I mean, I'm sure even beyond that timeline, but I genuinely like all of my friends' music,
Yeah, I do too. I mean, that's what I
and
said
I
the other
learn
day.
a
I said,
lot.
"Do you listen to your own playlist?" Because it's like when I'm ready to listen to music, I listen to the Independent Artists Unite playlist because I genuinely like everyone's songs. And I
I
also feel like it's a way of doing service, you know what I mean? Just to listen to people's
totally.
songs, like sending energy out there and, you know, it's desperately
I'm
needed.
I try to be really, again, like sacred about it when I listen to a friend's new release, which these days it's rare that I'm not the one mixing it. So um but I really like try to give them what I would want, to where like I'm in a good mood. I'm
Hmm.
receptive to new sounds.
Hmm.
I'll have a nice cup of coffee, you know, get the earbuds going. I always like to go for walks and listen to music
Hmm.
and really soak it in, like really soak it in, not as just background music, like, yeah, I heard your song. I really
Yeah.
try to do that.
Yeah.
And I do listen to stuff I've mixed. I mean, I have a massive playlist of 4.5 hours long now, and
Oh
that's
my
just of
God.
stuff in the last few years.
Wow.
And I went through your discography the other day, and I was just like, huh,
Oh, thank you.
like just listen to Digital Love, just listen to it, and I was like, fantastic. Again, I just really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I did that this morning with Wayward, actually, with his new EP. I
Yeah,
like made a coffee. I sat in a comfortable chair, had the coffee, and I was just like,
yeah.
nobody,
The new
nobody
Wayward
was
is
up
good.
yet, and yeah, it was great.
Yeah, really enjoying that EP quite a bit. This was a really good week for. I don't
Dude,
want to try to
somehow we've
list
gone,
everything because if
sometime,
I miss
somehow we've talked
something,
an hour already, and we
wow.
have to do a part two. All
I've
right.
got it. I'm
We,
full of coffee, man.
all right. We better close this out. Well, now we're finishing here with the great mad scientist James K. Ultra of Pain in the Ass.